Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Brad coming at you live from Lake Atitlan here in Guatemala. This video is going to be a little different from what I usually do. This is going to be more of like a motorcycle vlog. I've put together basically a ride from San Pedro to Panashel, and I'd like to show you the beauty that Lake Atitlan has in several different towns along the way. For some of you who have seen my previous videos, you know they're more cinematic normally, they have more of a story behind them. This is going to be basically a motorcycle vlog, so if you're looking for something cinematic, come back on the next one. Here's basically a map to show you the different towns we're going to hit along the way, and you can see going around the volcanoes and such there. So along the ride, I've picked out some video that kind of shows a few different things, either some beauty from the road or what the people are doing in certain times. I'm going to show you like where I've taken photos and then what those photos have looked like, the final products and stuff like that. I'd also like to use this video as kind of a platform to discuss a few different things. For instance, the businesses that I like, the ones that I don't really like, anything dealing with money. For instance, you know, right now the local currency here in Guatemala is the quetzales. So USD as compared to quetzales, there is 7.25 quetzales for every dollar. So if I mention dollars, I'm talking about US dollars. So it's kind of important. But let's start off here in San Pedro, and we will head to the south. First town we're heading towards is Santiago. Now you can actually take a boat and leave from San Pedro and go to Santiago, but I'm actually taking the road to Santiago. And it's kind of important to note here, when you leave San Pedro and you're heading towards Santiago, you go through some cornfields and a bunch of switchbacks and whatnot, and then all of a sudden the road goes to dirt. When the road goes to dirt, you look down to the end of the road and it turns. Now at that turn, a lot of locals had told me that the road is dangerous and there's robberies that take place. And that's the location where you may in fact get robbed. So that's the first part I'm really going to show you here, is where that road kind of turns to dirt and where, so right here, this first little turn right here, that's where sometimes people will come out of the bushes and basically they set a little trap, so they separate themselves by about 100 yards. Once you get within their trap area, they come out from in front and from behind. So then you stop and they come and they take, you know, your cell phone, your money. Basically, I've seen them with big, or at least I've seen the videos of the big machete, and they just chop off your tank bag, and then they just take the whole tank bag. But this area is pretty isolated, besides the bus that runs through here about once an hour. Other than that, it's not traveled that much. So the thing that you can do, because obviously stealing is wrong, I would never say, I would never condone any theft or anything like that. But what you can do is you talk to the local police, and they'll actually give you an escort through there. They may ask you for a slight, you know, propina or some kind of tip for taking you through, maybe like 20Q or something like that, which would basically be like $3. I don't think these people are killers. What I do think is when you push people, and they need to feed their families, they do things they wouldn't normally do. So I do know a person personally, so firsthand, who did get robbed in that location. So I would definitely watch out, and there are videos that do show that. So please watch out on this road. I was very lucky. I rode it 3 different times. I was really lucky. But anyway, so as we're heading down the road, we're headed to Santiago Atitlan, And the first thing you do is you go around the volcano. So this is the San Pedro volcano. That's the road that I'm on right now. And it's actually a really beautiful road. I kind of liked it. It had rained quite a bit before, so there were nice little grooves cut in there with the water. And these guys right here are actually they're fixing the road. So they just, a lot of times they'll ask passerbys for like 1 Q, like 1 quetzale or something like that, and they just work on the road. But you can see here erosion firsthand. I wouldn't recommend ripping through these roads too fast because the conditions change very rapidly. But anyway, so as we head to Santiago, a few other things I'd like to talk about just over the course of this video. Kind of why I came to Santiago, or why I came to Atitlan to begin with. Why I decided to stay for a little over 2 months. What benefits there are to staying in a place like this. And then just kind of talk about some of my favorite stuff. What you can expect if you wanted to come and visit for like a month or so, you know. I'm kind of lucky because I have the bike. I rode the bike down, so I don't have to worry about any form of transportation. I leave when I want and I go where I want. So if you don't have something like that, Lake Atitlan is kind of special because you can hop on a boat for just a few dollars. You can get to Panajachel, you can get to Santiago, you can get to San Marcos, you can get to San Juan. You're not locked down to just one town. You can easily move between towns, which is really nice, to be honest. But I guess first thing I'd like to talk about is Casa del Tejido, which I worked with to produce a few short films. And the reason why I decided to do this was because they're a very interesting organization. So this part of the country kind of has 2 seasons. You have the wet season, you have the dry season. Oftentimes when it's the wet season, there isn't a lot, because it's majority of just farming, there isn't a lot of food growing. There's not a lot of things to sell, and life gets a little tough. And so what they've done is these families have actually banded together, and you've got 23 families that make handmade clothing. Tejido is the word for weaver. So they make clothing, handmade clothing. They make it in their homes. From thread they spin on site, and then they dye everything and they weave everything. It's quite amazing. I'll link the video below that I made for them. It's a beautiful process. And then you've got 22 families that actually grow coffee, and they roast the coffee and they sell the beans. Well, the coffee roasting is really only half the year, so they needed something else to kind of sustain throughout the rest of the year, and that's where the weaving comes in. So they've put one shop together, and then you have, you know, roughly 45 families working together, and they've been doing this for 5 years now. And this is the first time where all the families have been able to send at least one child to school, which is a really big deal out here. Normally, primary school, you'll get a good bit of kids that go to primary school, but then beyond that, like secondary school. So basically, like, you know, if you're from the USA, like into your, you know, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grades, like most kids don't get to do that. They go to primary school, they get to read and write. Here, the local language is Tutejil and Spanish. So they speak a combination of Tutejil and Spanish. And then after that, it's like, hey, we need you at home to help make money because we have to eat. So this was the first time where a lot of those insecurities, those monetary insecurities and those like food insecurities and those problems that they would have in the wet season kind of went away because they're all working together. And I saw that community work as something that I'd really like to promote. So yeah, it was a great experience, and I highly encourage everyone, if you go to San Juan, Atitlan, you should check out Casa del Tejido. But on to a few other things. So one of the main things to do if you actually show up in Atitlan is to do the hike up to Indian Nose. And it's absolutely beautiful up there. You get to see the sunrise and you see it on the whole lake. Here, this next little town, oh, this is one of my favorite little spots. I'll just be riding down the road and I'm like, ooh, that looks like a neat little road. So I'll just head down these back roads until I see like a private property sign or something like that. Even if farmers are working in the field, they don't mind. I mean, don't mess with their crops, stay on the road. No one has ever came up to me and asked me to leave or anything like that. Oftentimes people will come up to me and they'll ask me where I'm from, like where I'm going, how long I'm staying there. They'll even ask me sometimes like, hey, I want you to take my picture. But this was a great little road. Kind of just wove around, and then I had a beautiful view of the San Pedro volcano. And unfortunately, my GoPro battery died before I even got there, so kind of a bummer. But what I was saying was, so Indian Nose. So you do this hike up Indian Nose, and you get to see the sunrise over the lake, and with the volcanoes and everything, it's absolutely beautiful. I strongly recommend it. Definitely one of the top things to do for Lake Atitlan. The main cities to stay at are Panashel, which you'll see that at the very end of this video when I get to Panashel. That's the city. If you fly in to Guatemala City, you'll come to Panashel first, and then from there you'll take a boat and go to whichever other city you want to go to on the lake. San Pedro is pretty popular, and that kind of leads into one of the reasons why I stayed. So, traveling through Mexico, which I absolutely love Mexico. I love it. The food there is amazing. The people there are amazing. The scenery is amazing. Everything is amazing. But in a lot of the places I went to, I stayed kind of off the tourist trail. So it was everywhere I was going, I was always sticking out, which is fine. It doesn't really bother me, but over time, that kind of becomes a little tiresome because you just kind of feel out of place, you know. And it's all, you know, the same questions all the time, and you're just kind of like, I just wanted to have some tacos, you know. So here in San Pedro, I was just like, just another gringo. There's many gringos here, and that was kind of nice. So I just kind of fit in. It wasn't a big deal. These kids here kicking the ball, if you see a ball, you always want to slow down. Even if you don't see a kid around, you always want to slow down if you see a ball, because there's going to be a kid flying around the corner, and trust me, they don't look in the street. But yeah, so San Pedro, it actually offered me kind of a sense of normalcy, I guess, which was kind of nice. Back on the road here towards Panashel, that was a neat little town. On to the next one here. This is kind of a neat little town, San Lucas. A neat little town. But yeah, it was nice. It offered a lot of conveniences. Like, I was even able to find like pizza. That was kind of nice. Not that I eat that kind of stuff every day, but it is nice little change, you know. So that was kind of nice. And I found a really awesome place here at the San Antonio Hotel. So I will link their info below. But check out San Antonio if you come here. The reason why I love this hotel is because the family that runs it just does an amazing job. It's kind of a small hotel. I think there's only 8 rooms, but it's run by 3 people, and they're all family, and they do such a great job. It's so clean. It's very quiet. They're so nice. It's just great. Like, you have a shared kitchen that they always keep really clean. Everyone has like an outdoor area with a hammock, table outside, table inside. Some of the rooms have refrigerators. All the rooms have TVs, not that I turn it on. There's Wi-Fi. I'm using the Wi-Fi right now. It's really a great place to come and stay, and I highly recommend San Antonio. So that was one of the reasons. It was kind of nice to know where I was going to sleep. Instead of just go. After a while, you're like waking up every morning, packing, leaving. Every day you don't really know where you're going to sleep, so to stay somewhere for more than just a day is kind of nice. You wake up in the morning, you know you don't have to pack. You're able to like get whatever work done you need to get done and still like enjoy a dinner somewhere and not have to rush. It's pretty nice. So in Guatemala, most people get a 90-day visa, and that's pretty standard. Importing the bike wasn't very expensive. I want to say it was like 60 quetzales, so just under $10. I think that's right. And the bike also gets its own visa. Another thing that's kind of important that normally I wouldn't even care about, but I put this in here on purpose. There's really only one bank around Atitlan that has ATMs, and it's called the 5B, and those are the only cash machines. And there's several other banks, like here's another bank, but they don't have any ATMs. So here I am at the 5B. Now the reason I bring this up is because the max amount to withdraw is 2,000 quetzales, which is like $250 or something like that. But they charge you 48 quetzales to take that out. So it's pretty expensive. If you do the math, you're paying a much higher rate than taking out like $300 for $3, like 1% back home. So if you're planning on staying for like 3 months, it might not be a bad idea to show up with 3 months worth of quetzales. It might actually save you $20 or $30. So just something to throw out there, kind of depending on how long you're going to stay and all that other kind of stuff. This is a nice little pier. I don't think many people come out here to San Lucas, but it was a nice little town. I kind of liked it because there really wasn't very many people, and the pier was really chill, and it just seemed like all locals. I didn't see any gringos out here. It was really chill, and there were like really old churches, and a couple of the hotels looked like really old style, like all rock walls and stuff. Looked really neat. So one thing that was kind of surprising to me was that this is technically the wet season, and it really only rained for like 2 weeks. What you can expect if you decide to come here is most days are around like 70 degrees, and basically just like that, just beautiful days up until about 3 o'clock. Then the clouds roll in, and you often have like a rain shower, maybe in the late afternoon or overnight. But it's very nice during the day. It's fantastic. Since you're high elevation, you're not getting any of that like super hot and humid heat. You are getting a lot of sun exposure. So if you're sensitive to the sun, you got to make sure you have that sunscreen on, because when you go in the sun, you got to remember you're pretty close to the equator. It's pretty hot. It's Central American sun. But most days just beautiful, just like this at some point. Another thing to consider if you're gonna come out and you're gonna plan to stay for like a few months, getting around is really easy. If you don't even want to take a boat, you can take a bus. You can take the chicken bus, like wherever. It's 5 quetzales, 10 quetzales to get around the lake. It takes a little longer because they make a lot of stops. You can also do the Colectivo version, which is just like the mini micro van, and usually like a 13-passenger van. Those will run you like maybe 50 quetzales, so $8 to $10, just kind of depending. There's the view of Pana from the ridge. It's kind of cool coming down into it because you can tell how the earth just is carved out by probably a lot of water over time, maybe some lava from a long time ago, just kind of carved out this huge valley, and Pana is the existing town that they now put down in the one like flat spot. So this would be the town that you would come into if you flew in. You'd come into Panajachel, and it's kind of a cool town. It's a lot more busy than San Pedro, but it's got everything you would ever need. And I mean, it's interesting because here in Guatemala, coming from Mexico, I was expecting like so much more flavor, but here in Guatemala, the food is basically just like very bland, and they do try to copy other food, like, but you can tell they're just trying to make it how they think people make it. It's not something that they were like taught how to make. So this is actually on the other side of Panajachel. Like if you drive up on the ridge, and there's waterfalls and these really epic views, and you look down on these kind of towns below. It's just absolutely beautiful. You can see the road cut through there. That's Panajachel on the left, and the two volcanoes there. But yeah, so it was very interesting because there's one of the chicken buses. Those are the cheap ones. They kind of look like old school buses that are all painted up. But coming here, I was expecting like some kind of flavorful food that was Guatemalan or this and that. It just wasn't the case. It's just kind of funny. I was thinking back, I was like, well, when I think of international cuisine, I don't think I've ever seen like a Guatemalan restaurant. And a lot of their staple foods are like chicken soup. They've got some different corn dishes. They make tortillas. They're just like a little small disc. They're a little smaller, and some people don't like them because they're a little rubbery, but I think they're pretty good. I put this in here just because I wanted to point out it's kind of important when you're riding in Central America or you're riding far from home. Always kind of keep an eye on your bike. You want to be looking just kind of for anything out of the ordinary, because when you start to see things that don't look right, if you can take care of it before it becomes a problem, you're really saving yourself a huge headache. Because getting out there in the middle of nowhere and then having a problem, that's a big deal. But if you notice something early, even if you're not a mechanic or anything, you can take it in, have someone look at it, have someone fix it. So really when you're far from home, kind of, you take care of the bike will take care of you. So I like to try to always look at the bike, always looking to make sure everything's okay. I'm always kicking the tires. But anyway, I've really enjoyed my time here in San Pedro, and I'll be leaving in just a few days, heading back to Mexico. Strongly recommend the Casa del Tejido video and maybe the Lake Atitlan video that I made just about San Pedro. If you want to come to San Pedro, I highly recommend it. So if you guys like this video, do hit that like button. Smash it if you do so desire, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. If you like this vlog style, let me know if you like it. Alright, thanks. ADV on.